All right, welcome to Red Zone DFS. We are back. We got week 6 on the horizon. We've got half the teams in the league not on the main slate, it feels like, but we'll make do. And a few more games that are pending, obviously, just like every other week with COVID and people getting, sick and ruled out. But we'll roll through our position groups and tell you who we like, who we don't like, and top plays. So we're going to start with running back today. So, Joe, why don't you kick us off? Let us know who you like up top and middle and bottom.
Yeah, running back was a little strange for me this week. I had a hard time going low for anybody, and I don't really want to pay up for anybody just based on matchups overall. The only person I do feel comfortable paying up for is Derrick Henry against Houston. I mean, the Texans' run defense is a dumpster fire, so I believe Henry can have a bounce back week, not rushing for 3.5 yards a carry like he did the other night. My other guy I'm really on is Jonathan Taylor again. He got me 16 points last week, and I feel like he's like hitting his floor at 15, 16 points every week. And he's got the Cincinnati Bengals. They got a 36% advantage on the offensive line. I think this is a week if Taylor can sneak in 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think he's my favorite. I also like Montgomery for the Bears. He's getting all the touches now. The Bears are facing the Panthers. Panthers' run defense, I think, is very, very weak. So I think the Bears are going to try to grind that game out with him. And the guy I'm going down for is McKissick at 4,400 as my punt. He's got 8 targets 2 games in a row with either Kyle Allen or Alex Smith throwing him the ball. I think McKissick, gets that 8 targets again. Hopefully just one of them turns into a touchdown. But, yeah, my running backs are very limited this week. So, Taylor, Montgomery, McKissick, Henry. And I might sneak a little Gurley in there on lineups I don't have other Falcon stacks.
Okay.
That's pretty much where I'm at.
Cool. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I have some similarities. I really like Henry. My only problem is that paying up for that, he's going to be extremely chalky. 25, 26%. Obviously, he can pay that off against Houston. My only concern is that, if I'm paying up for Derrick Henry and he is going to get maybe he has one of those games he has 22 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown at 25 to 30% ownership. That's I just don't think it's worth it.
No, for sure.
For me, the guy I'm paying up for this week is Aaron Jones. Joey's guy. I'm surprised he didn't say it.
I'll sneak some Aaron Jones in there, but seeing his price tag this week is off-putting because he's usually 7,000 or 6,800, somewhere around there. They got him up at 76 this week. That was the only thing that got me off.
Yeah, it's certainly lack of options, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people on this slate. A lot of the top running backs are hurt. McCaffrey's still an IR. He's not coming back this week. And no one's going to play him because everyone thinks that Tampa Bay has this amazing run defense. Well, Tampa Bay lost Vita Vea, they're just absolute stud run stopper inside. I mean, that is one of the biggest keys to their entire run defense, and he's not there anymore. We know that Aaron Jones is going to get involved in the passing game. I'm looking at ownership kind of all over the place right now, but it looks like somewhere between 6 to 8% for him. Sign me up for that all day.
And he's coming off a bye week, which, fresh legs. We all love that.
Nice fresh legs. Another guy moving down a little bit is Joe Mixon. He's shown that they're going to give him basically all the work. I'm looking for 3 down backs this week. Right, Aaron Jones is a 3 down back. Derrick Henry, that's my other thing where I'm really kind of off Henry this week. I'm going to play a little bit of him, but I mean, he came off the field a lot in 3rd down this week, and they were up. He had 1 catch. I mean, he's averaging 1.5 catches a game. Yeah. So give me a guy like Joe Mixon, 6 to 7% owned. He's just going to be on the field the entire time, right? dropping down a little bit more. The two guys that I like kind of in the mid-range, like in the 5,000s, Antonio Gibson at 5,500. I like that price. I like the volume he's getting. McKissick, he was getting a lot of run the last couple of weeks, but look, they're playing the Giants. Ron Rivera has made it pretty clear by switching around quarterbacks that he's trying to win games this year. So if they can control the clock, we've seen what the Giants can do against the run, and it's really not much, right? I like that. I also like Myles Gaskin against the Jets. The Jets are just a complete, absolute tire fire. I mean, it's
not much
pretty
more
unbelievable.
Well, they're tanking for Lawrence, man. It's in the writing now.
Hopefully they fire Gase while they're at it too, because
me and Vinnie were talking about that. They're going to keep Gase just so they keep resenting him, so they do go 0-16.
The number one pick, so they don't want to make a move. Just let him burn it to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? So, I mean, Myles Gaskin is a guy. I mean, look, Jordan Howard, the big knock was that, Jordan Howard's going to get the goal line carries, but he was inactive last week. So it looks like he's their guy. And then the one that if I'm going to go down, the furthest I'm going down is 4,300. Melvin Gordon got a DUI this week. I have no idea how much he's going to play, even if he is active. I can't imagine that it's going to be a lot. So I'll take Phillip Lindsay in a pretty good game script where they're probably going to have to be passing a little bit, and he's the guy who gets in there on most of the passing downs. So that's where I'm going. The one guy that I am going to pay up for that I don't think a lot of people will pay up for, and my one guy where I'm going to eat the chalk is going to be with Alexander Mattison this week. About the same ownership as Henry, about the same price as Henry. But he's just going to get all the touches, especially if Dalvin Cook is ruled inactive. He didn't practice today. They've shown they're just going to give him all the touches. And he was in a timeshare anyway. He would play a little bit when Cook would play. Now that Cook's not there, it's, Mike Boone behind him. So I'll eat the chalk there and get weird somewhere else.
What is the kind of chalk report here, like the top five? And
running backs?
Yeah.
Henry, Montgomery at 20 to 30%.
Wow.
Or 25 to 30%. Madison, and then it's pretty even. Mike Davis at 16 to 17%. But the three guys up in the mid-20s to, high 20s, low 30s are Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, and Alexander Madison. That's a chalk this week.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. We're very similar. All three of us, I think. I'm with you guys. If I'm going up, I'm going all the way to the top with Aaron Jones. He just looks awesome. Dude's completely refined, his body and catching the ball. Outside of getting, robbed by Williams here and there, there's zero concern with me there. I'm not worried about the matchup at all. I think they're going to just absolutely hammer Aaron Jones, down Tampa's throat. Henry to me just doesn't look good. He just doesn't look super explosive. I don't know, man. Watching the game on was it Tuesday? It just didn't seem right. Granted, he's going to get the ball. He's in a great matchup, but I'm just not paying 25% chalk for a guy who just doesn't look great. I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right there. Madison, I obviously need to see that Cook is out, but he's just an unknown, and I don't love paying huge chalk and that high price for someone who's unknown. I'll be definitely going to more Mike Davis than I will Madison. He's shown he's going to get 8 to 10 targets in the passing game plus 20 carries. He is the dude. What were you going to say, Joe?
I was going to say my fade this week is going to be Mike Davis. Just because I do feel like a lot of people are going to be on him in general. It's not the Bears defense I'm necessarily scared of. I don't know. I just feel like the Panthers this week, it's going to be a rough day. I think it's going to be a rough day
but,
for the whole
Ronald
Panthers
Jones
offense.
just put up 100 yards on them running, and I just think what Jim said at the beginning is kind of where I'm trying to lean at running back, where it's 3 down back or just the guy, like the bell cow guy, that's what makes me a little bit nervous on Jonathan Taylor. Like he's only getting like 12, 14 carries a game. Like they're not leaning on him. Like, if they were giving him 20, 25 carries, it'd be all in on that guy. But I just look at, he's going to touch the ball 25, 30 times Mike Davis. Like I'll take that over, who knows with Madison. That game is just weird too. Like what if it does shoot out, Atlanta has a little juice after firing, their coach, and it turns into a shootout. Like, I don't think they're have any alliance to Madison, to keep them involved. Like that game could just turn into an air raid.
I disagree. I mean, they play Madison when Cook's healthy. Like they obviously like Madison.
No,
they
Madison's going to play.
What I'm saying is like Minnesota, like isn't like, okay, we have to run the ball. Like I'm just saying if the game gets off and gets going, like does he get kind of schemed out of like game flow? Like
no, because if Cook is out, typically they would put Madison, Cook plays a lot of the passing downs, but I mean Madison can catch the ball.
Yeah.
I think that I'm actually surprised to see his ownership that high. I thought DraftKings pricing him up, knowing that Cook could be out in a good matchup. I mean, kudos to DraftKings for doing that, because like if they would have priced him in like the 5,000s, he might have been like 70% out.
For sure. And I just look at it like I'm always a little hesitant on these backup guys. I know Madison's pretty good every time he gets on the field. Like he looked good versus Seattle when he was playing, but he doesn't like automatically become Cook, like as far as that skill level. So I'm not like saying he's a lock for 25 points.
Yeah, and
that's all I'm saying.
So what I've watched with the Vikings this week, and this is just my opinion, the Vikings in general this year, I mean, Dalvin Cook just makes people miss behind the line of scrimmage and gets positive yardage like frequently. Like literally almost every time he touches the ball, it's not a wide open run for him. He's the one that makes that offense go. There's not like the offensive line's plowing the way for him like the Colts O-line's doing for Taylor or Hines. I don't know. I just, like you said, Vinny, Madison just doesn't have that same skill set as Dalvin. And he's going to get the touches. He's going to get the volume, and I'm not arguing with the volume. What I am arguing with is, does he have the skill set to actually make those plays?
I'm not saying that he does or doesn't. I'm just saying, yes, all signs point to this guy having a great game, but like, I'm just not going to ride the chalk wave for like kind of an unknown. Like, that's just me. I've just kind of decided on that. So it will depend on ownership, obviously, but that's kind of how I'm just at least looking at the slate on there.
Yeah.
I do really like Mixon as well, Jim, for the same reasons. Like, dude's just going to get the ball every time they want to go on the ground, and he's going to see 5 to 8 targets in the passing game. So he's obviously a special talent and can break one or pop 2 touchdowns in, and all of a sudden you're live. I like Gaskin as well and Gibson if I'm going down, and the lowest that I'm going in terms of running back this week, similar, just because I think the game is going to play this way. Like this is going to be an ugly game. Is I'm open to taking Devontae Freeman on the other side. Like it is clearly his backfield with the Giants. He got almost 20 carries last week with 2 or 3 touches. Like, I know Washington's got a great pass rush, but like that game's going to be ugly. That game's going to be so shitty. So like, give me the guy who's going to get 20 touches in the 4K range. Like I'll take that. There's nobody else who's going to get 20 opportunities in that range. So you don't need a lot for him to pay off, and he opens up a lot of doors. He's definitely not going to be like a core play guy, but someone I'm not like afraid to go to. You know what I mean?
All right, let's move on.
All right, let's do it. Well, let's hit on quarterbacks. Jim, you want to start there, and then we'll kind of, I guess, dive right into like receivers. You can kind of talk about some pairing, and we'll split it up, but we'll kind of like merge the two together.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're going up top, I mean, the guy that is just on the FU tour of the century right now is Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's going to pair in well with, me liking Aaron Jones, me liking Devontae Adams, me just liking that whole Packers situation. And, I mean, he's just on another level this year. I mean, he's turning absolute no-name guys like Robert Tonyan into like guys that people are like, gonna want to play this week on fantasy, right? Like I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna go back to Robert Tanyan. I had some, I profited off of him while I could with in a nice little showdown win with some old Bobby Tanyan, but I just can't get back there. But I mean, Rodgers is he's throwing the ball a lot. When they're down there on the goal line, he throws the ball, right? He's got a little bit of a rushing upside. He could get it in there. People are going to be paying up. There's not a lot of like super expensive people this week, but there's a lot of like higher price people where, people are going to want to play, Madison and Henry together, right? And then like some of those higher price guys. And then I'm really going to be able to pay $7,500 for Aaron Rodgers. But,
especially Rodgers and Adams. Like if you're going to go there,
Exactly. And the retort to the Aaron Jones thing is that when Devontae Adams does play, his expected fantasy points go way down because a lot of those targets and a lot of that stuff goes to Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams could have played the week before the bye. They're coming off the bye. I mean, he's going to be ready to go. So Aaron Rodgers probably going to be my highest owned quarterback. I like Cam at 65 going up against Denver. Again, had a little mini bye because he tested positive for COVID. He's going to be back. And then I really don't like playing this guy because I just he's got such a punchable face. But we talked about it a little bit already, the Vikings, right? Kirk Cousins has been, I know, right? But look, I think the game's going to be a shootout too. I want to try and get as much exposure to this game as possible. Matt Ryan has just not looked right, and Kirk Cousins has looked very, very well. He's been throwing the ball well, right? It also goes well with the two receivers I want to play, both Thielen and Jefferson with him. It's an expensive stack, but I can get there. And then one that you guys are probably going to be like, what did I smoke before this?
I already am after the Kirk Cousins call, but please.
So I'm only playing this guy with a stack, right? And it's Nick Foles. $5,800.
No, I don't think it's weird at all, my man.
Yeah,
I got him on my list too.
I got Nick Foles. You can pair him with a $3,000 Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson, and you can pretty much go get whoever else you want to after that. We look for those weird plays. Based on his snap and opportunity rate, Mooney has basically supplanted Miller. And like we said, this game is going to be a shootout. It's going to be one of those games that I'm personally going to be targeting, that everyone's going to go to the Atlanta game. Everyone's going to go want to game stack that game. Like, I'm game stacking this game. Like, you can play Mooney and Robinson with Foles, and then you could run it back with Mike Davis and DJ Moore.
Yeah. Look at this. Foles has 42 pass attempts in his last two games, and he had 29 pass attempts in the second half he came in on the first game.
Here's what I
mean, the volume, Nagy, he trusts Foles to drop back and throw, which he didn't quite do with Trubisky, right? They're going to be throwing the ball like crazy.
But for 42 attempts, 12 points is what he's average. I get it. He was on my list earlier in the day.
But all it takes is converting some of those to touchdowns, right?
Yeah, and we're playing Carolina. Okay, let's not forget that.
That's true.
And he played the Bucks last week and the Colts the week before. Two strong defenses.
Yeah.
And the 12 points not getting the touchdown conversion starts to make a little sense. I think against Carolina, Foles has that plus offensive line grade this week too. I think he's going to be standing back there with some time.
Yep.
And like you said, Jim, the Allen Robinson hookup, I think that's the one this week.
Yeah, and then like I said, I like pairing him with Mooney at $3,000 because he's $3,000, right?
Yeah.
So some guys that I'm not playing, I like some other pieces of this game, but I'm off Lamar in this Philly game. 7,700. I'd just rather pay down $200 and pay for Aaron Rodgers. If Lamar doesn't do something with his legs, this hasn't been great. And then probably Big Ben I'm off too. It's not a great matchup versus Cleveland. I think they're going to probably try and run the ball a little bit. Cleveland's got a pretty good pass rush this year. And Cleveland's 4-1. I mean, it's rather like shocking. It's the first time they've been 4-1 since 1994, which, Joey was in like not even walking yet, I don't think. But,
I was 3.
Oh, okay. So you were walking. That's good. So
I knew the Browns were terrible at 3 years old.
Yeah, so Ben is a guy I'm just kind of off this week, and then I'm probably gonna go away from my guy Burrow this week, even though he's 5,400 playing Indianapolis. I don't think they're gonna get a ton of plays. Indianapolis is gonna try and slow the ball down, run the ball like we said with Taylor. So that's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah, with that noodle arm Rivers. So
Yeah, dude.
Joe, do you want to go?
Yeah. So yeah, paying up. If I'm paying up, I'm going Rodgers. I feel like I got to have at least one Rodgers Adams stack. But my favorite people I want to go with this week is Matt Stafford and doing Detroit Lions stacks. Going against Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense is that bad. Miles Jack is the only good player on that defense, and he's the only player that can cause havoc.
True.
So I think Matt Stafford this week, with Golladay, possibly some Marvin Jones, possibly some Amendola, possibly some Hawkinson. I mean, there's just too many options. That's what scares me with stacks with Stafford. But Stafford's one of those guys. I mean, you can even play him sold this week, and he might have 25-plus points, and he's going to go really low owned because he has not had a good season.
Yeah, the only thing with Stafford is that if you're looking at what it really takes to win you a tournament, you probably need 30 to 40 out of your quarterback. Mm-hmm. Matt Patricia still wants to like run the ball 25 times with Adrian Peterson. Yeah. Like I just like don't get it.
I know. But the good thing is Stafford's been hitting his floor, 17 points twice in a row, 18.5 and 23 last week. And the upside's way higher this week than he's had. If there's a week for Stafford to go 30 points, I think this could be the one. Okay. He's throwing touchdowns, right? When they get in the red zone, their run game gets shut down, and he has to throw the ball and make stuff happen. So Stafford's been doing that.
Yep.
So I do like Stafford this week. My other guy I really like is Fitzmagic. I'm just scared that everyone's going to be really hyped on him after the Niners last week. But, we'll see. But he's going against the Jets. Fitzpatrick, let's see. He was 30 points last week, and it wasn't, weird. He had 26 the week before, 25, 27. Fitzpatrick is throwing the hell out of the ball. So I love me some Fitzpatrick Parker stacks and some Williams stacks as well. One person I'm not going to go with, though, is Gesicki. He's let me down too much this year. I feel like Fitzmagic just doesn't like throwing to him. He's only getting like 5 to 4 targets in a game sometimes. I just think Fitzmagic really likes to go to the outside to his X and his Z. So I'm just fading them.
They're playing the Jets. Okay.
I know.
Who the absolute dusty fart Jordan Reed, the walking concussion, had 2 touchdowns against. That's all I'm saying.
I know. I just don't think Fitzpatrick likes throwing the tight ends. Some quarterbacks just love it. I just don't think Fitzpatrick likes doing it, even though Gesicki is a beast. He's a monster.
Yeah, their offense isn't specifically designed to incorporate a lot of tight end work.
Gesicki plays in the slot more than he plays at tight end.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good call because Gesicki is going to be – we're going to get to tight ends later, but there's not a lot to choose from this week at tight end. So I think a lot of people are going to go to Gesicki. So that's a good call. Yeah. I like that, Joe.
So, yeah, he's one of my fades, and that's why. And my other guy is Nick Foles against Carolina, like we just talked about earlier. Don't have to rehash that. The one game I'm really fading is the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. I feel like both defenses are very strong. I feel like it's just going to be one of those games that, the points could rack up just like the Philly-Pittsburgh game did last week. It can happen. But I think Mayfield's going to have a hard time this week. I think Big Ben's going to, get it done this week, but I think he's going to have a hard time as well. Another guy Vinnie turned me on to right before the pod started was Carson Wentz.
No, I did not. I mentioned it that I said I would. I wanted to
as a dart. And let's just say this, guys. I picked Derek Carr as my dart last week, and everyone gave me a hard time because I've been on the Derek Carr hater train. Derek Carr was my punt, and he went nuts with Ruggs, and they were both 1% owned. I think Wentz could be in that position this week going against Baltimore. I'm talking a dart. I'm not talking I'm putting him in more than one lineup. Just a dart lineup and a GPP. I think Wentz against Baltimore. I don't know.
I'm not on it.
Why not?
I need to see, like, for sure. The two biggest things and the reason why it was, like, just kind of like a twinkle out there was Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson might be back this week.
Yeah.
If they're back, he at least has, like, some pro players surrounding him with Fulgham as well. Then they've got Ertz, Miles Sanders, like, finally, like, a decent offense for Wentz, and everything says they're going to be.
And really, Wentz is putting up 20 points a game on average. For 5,600, he's getting you 4 times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was
but Baltimore's tough, man. But he put up 20 points against Pittsburgh last week. So
I'll just go back to the thing that in order to win a GPP, you're probably going to need 30-plus points out of your quarterback. And I think that Carson Wentz can probably get to 20 to 22 versus Baltimore, maybe. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell he gets over 30 this week.
No, definitely. And
no, right.
I'm not playing Wentz again.
I'm just saying for 5,600, if you really want to – because like we said, running backs, I think, is going to get a little tough this week to fit all your guys in. And if you want one of those lineups with 2 better running backs, Wentz could be the guy. But then again, 200 more for Foles. I'm going to have way more Foles going than Wentz. I'll tell you that.
That's the thing. That's the thing with me. It's like I'll just if Carson Wentz is the reason why I don't win this week, then, like, all right, that's fine. I'll just take that L.
Yeah, and the matchups.
I get the reasoning though.
The matchup's obviously not good, and I see why you're going Foles there. Again, the only reason why I had him, like, as lightly chalked up as possible is just because, again, if you're getting Alshon and Deshaun back, like, you can at least compete, and, Deshaun pops one, and if they're trailing, like, that's just upside. So,
yeah, and they do get to play at home.
Like a Foles, so that was it.
Yeah, and Wentz gets to play at home this week, and that's another little positive. I know the fan thing isn't huge this year, but I do think being your home stadium makes a difference.
The other thing with that is I do think the Eagles come out kind of humming this week, and it's just simply with Dak going down in that division. Like, this is the Eagles' division to win. Like, there's no more BS. Like, they have no excuses. Like, they got to get some wins under their belt. So, I don't know. Again, that was like the 0.1% flyer. Like, in terms of, are you through your guys, Joe?
Yeah.
So I'm with you guys. Love Rodgers. I will have him on a ton of lineups. I just think he's at this point, like you said, he's on a tour of just madness right now, and there's just no stopping him. So cue me up some Aaron Rodgers for sure. I'm on Stafford as well, Joe. The reason being, I think that game has, like, really shootout potential because both defenses are just atrocious. Detroit is one of the worst defenses in the league, and so is Jacksonville. So, give me that with 2 quarterbacks that like to sling it. Like, all right, like, I'm interested there. With that, I do like some Minshew. I mean, he's been hovering around 22, 25 points a game, like, pretty consistently. I think if DJ Chark is out, like, that obviously is not great for him, but I think that will also get, like, whatever ownership was going to go his way is gone.
Well, the last time Chark was out, that game was horrendous by Minshew. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was obvious that Chark was gone. So if Chark's out this week, that scares the shit out of me.
It does. However, the one thing I looked up today is Jeff Okudah, their number 1 pick, the Lions, has the worst coverage grade in the NFL.
He's so bad.
Yeah, he's not transitioning very well.
So bad.
I'm gonna play a few Minshew anyways. Obviously, if Chark's in, I'm in on that. If he's not, my favorite receiver is still Shenault in that game. So I will play some Shenault and Keelan Cole and bring it back with Galladay, and throw a dart on that game stack. So I'm not opposed to Minshew at all. I do like my other kind of, like, sneaky plays. I think everyone you said is going to go towards Derrick Henry, and I'm going to lean more Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill looks good, dude. He is playing really well. With A.J. Brown back, they said they're going to get back Humphreys and Corey Davis this week as well, probably off the COVID list. Like,
yeah,
I'm in. And Jonnu Smith, like, that offense is, like, legit. And I don't think they, like, have to lean on Henry, which is part of the reason why he's not getting, like, he got 22 carries, not 35 last game.
Yeah,
like,
and honestly, Tannehill's play action is one of the best play actions I've seen in the NFL in a long time, and it could be have a lot to do with Henry, obviously. But Tannehill in play action, I feel like every time he pulls that ball up, it's going to be a completion over the middle for 20 yards. I mean, Tannehill is a monster with it.
For sure. And, I just think he's got sneaky blow-up potential, and I like that if I can go there and get off the Henry chalk but still stay a part of that offense. Like, that's, to me, a little bit sneaky. So I'll have some Tannehill for sure. I'm really on the fence with Brady. I don't really know what to play there. I mean, if we think Rodgers is going to continue going scorched earth, like, Brady has shown he can go 3-4 touchdowns this year. Godwin might be coming back. Like, Scotty Miller, who didn't have a catch and screwed everybody out last Thursday, should be better. But, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on Brady?
I think if Evans and Godwin are both active, I then have some interest in Brady. If they're both not active, or if one of them is inactive, I don't know. Yeah. So my issue with Brady is the Packers have actually been getting pretty good pressure on the quarterback, and Brady is just a freaking statue.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even wait for or like try to get out of the way. He just like crumples like Woody in Toy Story when a human walks in the room. He just like his legs go out and it just like gets down real quick. And
for sure,
look, the Packers have been bringing good pressure. They blitz a lot. They have one of the highest blitz percentages out of any defense in the league.
But that's where I do think, like, yes, he needs all of his weapons back for me to like lock that in. But that's the one thing in his career Brady will shred, is if a team's bring in pressure like that. So I do like that. I also kind of like the sneaky bounce back. I mean, the last image we have is Brady like forgetting what down it was and blowing the game versus the Bears. Like, when's the last time that happened, like back to back in a Brady game? Like, for some reason, something tells me this guy's just like, I don't know, just been eating avocado ice cream and like watching film nonstop for like 10 days. Like, he's going to be ready to rock. So if we like Rodgers, I just feel like, you have to kind of be a little bit interested in the other side of that game. So
yeah, I mean, you do, right? But it doesn't mean you have to be interested in Brady.
You don't, but I guess what I'm getting at is he's $1,000 less than Rodgers. Like, you could easily go Rodgers, Evans, or Godwin and Adams and load up that game stack.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Brady can get there. I don't know. It's just not for me this week. In order for me to reconsider, this is coming out on a Friday. Like I said, if Evans and Godwin are in, then I'm in. More so, if Godwin's in, I'm in, because they can bring him down into the slot. I don't know why they just decide to not bring Mike Evans into the slot more, because he can play really well. Him and Jameis Winston did a lot of damage over the deep middle in the 20 to 40 yard zone. I don't see them doing any of that this year. I went back and watched a couple games, and I mean, he's strictly running stuff on the outside. He'll run those little little in routes and stuff toward the goal line and have some like 1 yard touchdowns. But when they're out in the middle of the field, they don't run very many over the middle routes with him. It's all deep, which is fine. But I mean, he's a big body.
I think Evans has been playing pretty banged up so far this season.
Yeah.
And it's kind of obvious that there's a lot of plays where he's in the game, but he's not really in the play. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of moments like that with Evans, like they're just sticking him on the outside just to, give him a play off or whatever. And
for sure,
I just think he's really banged up right now. And that's why he gets those 1 yard, 2 yard catches, because he can make those plays. But running down the field, I think last week we saw him pull up on a play on a 9 route where he pulled up, all a little gingerly, but he kept playing, and Evans worries me. But you're right. If Godwin's in, I do like a Brady Godwin stack. Godwin was out with a concussion. It's not like he was out with a knee injury or an ankle injury or something like that. Yeah. So when he's back, he's back. Yeah. And Godwin definitely has that big play potential. So we see Brady's arm is live this year, man. I'm just scared of Green Bay a little bit. I think that defense is really solid.
I am too. I think they're on a mission this year, and on mobile quarterbacks a little bit. I mean, you saw it with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's just a statue, and the Packers just absolutely destroyed him.
Yeah.
Tampa
The Packers
Bay's,
got good corners, man. They'll cover well and make you sit back there and wait for someone to get open, which that's what scares the hell out of me too.
yeah.
So
I'll just touch on. I mean, obviously, if I like the quarterbacks, I like the receivers that are going with those guys. But some of the guys we didn't talk about as far as just straight up receiver plays that I do like, Ridley and Thielen. I mean, obviously, are in just great spots. If I can get there, I will. I'll definitely have more Devontae Adams for the reasons we talked about, but I like both of those guys, obviously. Galladay and Robinson, obviously, are in smash spots, more, in the mid to high range. I do like Jefferson as kind of a pivot off of Thielen, like either of those guys could go off. Hell, they could both go off. So Jefferson's at a really good price.
Very low ownership on Jefferson too.
Oh, okay. So that
Jefferson grades out really high on PFF. He's been very, very efficient this year, and that's not going to slow down.
No, for sure.
It's not a fluke it's not like Claypool going off last week. Shout out to me on that one. But so it's not like Claypool going off that he has nothing, Jefferson's been doing well week in, week out. So I think Jefferson is definitely in a good spot.
Totally. And I'll just kind of rifle through the last bit of guys. AJ Brown, really like. I love Hollywood Brown is going to score a touchdown this week. And it's him and Mark Andrews. So it's like, I feel like you got to get a piece of both of those guys. They're going to get every target.
So with Hollywood, his last 2 games, so look at this. He's got 6 targets in his first 3 games, 8 targets, then 10 targets in his last game.
It's ramping up.
Lamar's trying to get him the ball more.
Yeah.
And forcing it to him. I do really like the Marquise Brown play this week. And I'm usually never on Ravens receivers.
He's the right price. He's like low 6s. With Cam coming back, I do like Edelman. I think that's really sneaky. Like, I think he's going to come in at like 1 to 5%. No one's going to be on Edelman. So, and then I mentioned it earlier. My favorite low price guy is Laviska Shenault. The Lions are absolutely terrible. This guy's averaging like 12 to 14 points a game, like against good or decent defenses. Like, give me the Lions. And if DJ Chark is out, like, I think Chenault's going to absolutely explode. So, and then I really like Jamison Crowder. Everyone's a little freaked out that Miami's getting some of their corners back, but Crowder plays in the slot. Those guys play on the perimeter. So
the Jets
and
have
there's no one else.
else.
Yeah.
Well, they have one other guy who we'll talk about.
I'm playing Jeff Smith again. He's 3K, and he saw another 10 targets last week. So at 3K, if Flacco can just like freaking throw one somewhere in the vicinity of him and connect like for a touchdown, it's game on.
Look, he dropped the touchdown last week. Like he's probably not very good, but like the Jets don't have anybody else.
No,
they just cut the most talented offensive player outside of Jamison Crowder that they had. And they're gonna let Dust Bowl Frank Gore continue to rumble on down the field. Give
me Jeffy.
I don't know why DraftKings honestly didn't raise Jeff Smith's price a little bit. Like, he's just a dead man again after getting 11 targets. Like,
yep, I'll take him. And then the last guy with the Jags that I'm kind of high on is Keelan Cole. Same reasons, obviously if Chark's in, I'll go more Chark and Shenault. But if Chark is out, I have no problem playing Shenault and Keelan Cole. So that's where I'm going.
I mean, you touched on a lot of the guys. One guy you did not touch on that I will be playing is Terry McLaurin. $5,700 for a guy that is going to dominate the targets on the team. I'll take that all day long.
There's one reason I've scratched him off, and that's because of Joey's guy, Bradbury, who has been playing at a Pro Bowl level. I don't he's one guy out of 11 on that defense is like a stud. Like, I don't know where he came from. Like, as far as I know, he's always been good, but dude, he's like a lockdown corner right now.
So that's fine, but I mean, McLaurin could get 15 targets.
He could. Yeah.
So at 57, like, look, if he was 6,500, I would probably be thinking twice. But at 5,700, I mean, you're pricing it with the expectation that Bradbury, is not going to let him do a whole lot. But they've been moving him around a little bit, and they're going to take deep shots to him. I mean, all it takes is one, and I'll take that especially if he's going to get the opportunity.
I just don't know who he's even playing quarterback there. Like,
Who care? I don't
Kyle
really
Allen,
care.
Smith, like
They're
both.
all the same. They're all the same level of shittiness, right? I mean, I guess I actually think Dwayne Haskins was a little bit better for McLaurin because he would be risky and push it down the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle Allen's gonna start. We saw last year with Kyle Allen, he would throw deep to DJ Moore. I mean, they took shots down the field last year, and that's why DJ Moore was such a high draft pick in seasonal leagues this year, because people saw the production from last year. They saw what we saw last week in the Atlanta game. So,
Sure.
I mean, Kyle Allen's going to throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
The Dolphins receiver that I'm going to this week is Devontae Parker. I think a lot of people are going to chase the Preston Williams game from last week, but I mean, he only caught 4 passes, and yeah, he turned it into 101 yards and a touchdown. But I just like Parker. He's not very expensive. I'll go there. And then, I mean, as far as like matchups, I mean, we said it, Jefferson. But I think you got to play a fair amount of Thielen. He has the best matchup rating by like 12 points this week, going up against AJ Terrell. So, he's going to be chalky. The 3 most chalky receivers this week are going to be Galladay at 19 to 22%, AJ Brown at 18 to 20%, and then Thielen at 17 to 19%. But honestly, that ownership for Thielen just doesn't scare me away, especially if I'm playing my guy Kirk.
Well, especially if you're getting a little bit different at running back, right? Like if you're not going Henry and Madison, like you're going Aaron Jones and Mixon, like you're different enough there that you can. I mean, you don't have to like avoid chalk at every position.
No, not at all. And 18% is something I can live with for a guy that has the best matchup rating. It has been playing unbelievably, and like they're just going to keep feeding him the ball. And like you said, like the Vikings, while Mike Zimmer is probably having an aneurysm because they're throwing the ball too much because he just loves to run the ball, they just can't do it, right? Yeah. And it's a good spot to get away from Madison. If people are just going to go hammer Madison, right? Kind of like we talked about, like I'm going to play Madison, but I think if you're going to pick one guy on the Vikings to play this week and just go all in on him, I think it's got to be Thielen.
Yeah, I agree. Joe, anyone we missed or anyone you want to add on?
I just really on Detroit. Pick your poison. Galladay, Jones, Amendola. Amendola is only 4,100. I mean, he could be a total dart to get a touchdown this week. Jacksonville's that bad.
That you said it. This could be like one of those sneaky Marvin Jones weeks where like he's done nothing for 5 weeks.
He does it all the time.
For 3 touchdowns.
Yep, he's a huge red zone target, man. The guy's got those long arms. He makes weird plays in the end zone. He does it frequently every season. So
yeah, I
really like Galladay. He's my favorite. I'll pivot up with a couple Marvin Jones, and I'll definitely sneak some Amendola in there just because 4,100. Why not? Love Thielen and Jefferson, like you guys were just saying. I'm really high on Crowder this week. Who else are going to throw to? Because honestly, like you guys said, Jeff Smith, yeah, he's getting the targets, but he's still Jeff Smith, and he did drop a touchdown last week. And just because you're starting doesn't make you any good. Just because you're in the NFL doesn't make you NFL caliber. Would he even be on any other teams right now, right? I mean, the Jets are a semi-pro football team right now, and I was bagging on you guys last week for this, and I was right. Like, he got 11 targets, but what did he get, 4 points?
But he was $3,000. So every lineup I had Jeff Smith in, I cashed.
Put it this way, he had 2 points less than Juju Smith.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So like for the savings of almost $4,000, like, okay, you know.
I get your thinking. I'm just not going to play a bad player.
Well, that's fine. I prefaced it with saying I don't think he's very good.
Yeah, no.
And we can't expect that he's going to get 11 targets again, right?
No, I mean you probably more assume he's going to get 7 or 8 this week, right? More realistic.
For a guy that's $3,000, like,
sure,
I'll take that. The other guy that I talked about earlier was Mooney for 3,000, which I think that's a good play too. But
yeah, my other guys I really like Devontae Parker. doing a Fitz, Devontae Parker. Like you said, Jim, I'm a little off Preston Williams this week. Preston's really only averaging 4 or 5 targets a game.
Yeah.
I don't see that really changing. And yeah, he just had a big game last week. San Francisco was hurt to shit. They're playing, third string corners. So even though the Jets are third string everything, but I'm all over Devontae Parker with Fitz this week. I really like AJ Brown with some Tannehill. I'm going to have at least one Rodgers-Adams stack. Probably my favorite player this week is Allen Robinson. You saw Foles just force-feeding Robinson last week. Like,
Dude,
literally every play, just hitting him on 8-yard comebacks, 5-yard digs. Like, he just wants to get the ball to Robinson, and as well as he should, because Robinson is that guy. And another thing that's really big with Robinson right now is he's in a contract year. And, yeah, he got paid with the Bears, but he was coming off that nasty leg injury. I think if Robinson goes off this year like he has been, he's looking at big numbers this offseason. So I think Allen Robinson's playing that contract year. Nick Foles is force-feeding him the ball. Robinson's my favorite. I also love Ridley if I'm going to pay up that Atlanta game. I do think there's a bounce back for Matt Ryan. This is why I won't bench Matt Ryan in my Yahoo leagues, because you never know when Matt Ryan's just going to put up 40 points and throw for 5 touchdowns or just shit the bed. I mean, there is too much potential with him. And like you guys said with Jacksonville, I love Chark as always, but I do love Chenault. He's getting, I think Minshew's, getting that collaboration with Chenault, and they're starting to really,
they're just finding different ways to give him the ball, dude. And
he's a running back, dude. They give him a slant pass and he turns into a running back. So those are my guys. I'm keeping a very small pool this week.
I really want to play Chenault. And if he's active and Chark's not active, he might be my highest owned wide receiver this week. Yeah. But he didn't practice Wednesday, limited practice on Thursday because of a hamstring issue. So –
but he has been dealing with that for a few weeks. It's not new.
Yeah, he was limited today, but
so I think he plays on it, and then they just don't practice him, and then he plays on it. So,
if he's like I said, if he's active, I'm gonna have a fair amount of him.
The price is just too good for someone who's 12 to 15 points, like his.
Yeah, again, someone who they're trying to actively force the ball to, right? Yeah. And I really don't understand Allen Robinson's price. He hasn't gotten less than 9 targets all year. He's averaging 12.5 targets a game. And, I get that Devontae Adams is too, but, I mean, Ridley put up a 0 2 games ago. A 0. 0. The worst Allen Robinson's done this year is put up 12 points in a week, and that was week 1. Right? With week 2, he put up 6.3 versus the Giants, which is kind of weird. But it wasn't 0, right? And then the last 3 weeks, he's had 13 targets, 10 targets, and 16
and guess what?
targets.
It's as soon as Foles came in. Foles loves throwing to this guy. It's obvious, and it's not changing.
I mean, I just don't know. He might be in 60% of my lineups this week. I mean,
yeah, I'm going big Allen Robinson. And honestly, the more I'm thinking about how much I love Robinson, is more Foles I'm going to have going. So
yeah, big time.
Especially, I just love targeting the Panthers this year. It's worked out for me so far. So
yes,
why go against what's working?
I like it. One guy, just a disclaimer, throwing up a flag that I will be full fading is Will Fuller. He's been healthy for 2 weeks now. He's due for a hammy or an ankle. So
he's that guy I see when I'm scrolling down and I just keep scrolling. I never even stop to look at his shit. I can't stand him.
He's been good, but I'm just saying, just straight from an injury perspective, he's due. Just saying, just throwing it out there. All right, let's hit on tight ends real quick. This is a terrible position group this week.
Yeah, it's not great.
Jim, why don't you lead us off and just knock out a few your guys?
I'm not super high in Gesicki. I hope Fance is active because I would like to play him. That's another guy that if we're looking at teams are actively looking to get him the ball, and they are.
He's a monster, dude. He looks like he belongs on a level higher than the NFL sometimes. He's a fucking monster.
Drew Lock, I think, is going to be back this week. Yeah. So that makes me feel a lot better than whoever Rippin was throwing picks against the Jets and God.
Yeah.
I like Hawkinson this week. The guy that I'm going to go to that, he just has looked horrible this year. But Vinnie brought it up earlier, and I think this actually helps him out more than it helps the quarterback out for production-wise, is Zach Ertz. They're going to be down in this game. They're going to have to throw the ball. Ertz having Jeffrey and Jackson and other pieces in there really helps him out, right? Because he does most of his work in the 5 to 25-yard range from the line of scrimmage, right? With those guys out, they've had to try and get him the ball more and more, and they've really just forced it to him. So, he hasn't been horrible. Last week he was horrible, but the weeks before that, 7 points, 14 points, 9 points, and he's priced down now at $5,000. So he's going to be low owned. I'll take a stab on him. The guy that if I'm going to go pay down, is Austin Hooper.
You stole my guy.
He actually
even with the Joker back.
Yeah, that's fine. He has one of the highest target shares per route run in the entire NFL this year. He's like number 6, but like right behind Adam Thielen. So like every time he runs a route, like they're actively looking to throw him the ball. He gets a lot of red zone looks. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball that effectively in the red zone with the Steelers defense. So at 3,900, that's a guy I'll go to. Njoku, he's coming off injury. Okay. A guy that I'm basically just like full fading this week because everyone saw him catch all of those touchdowns is Jonnu Smith. And Jonnu Smith looks great, but at the end of the day, this year, he's got 18 catches and 5 touchdowns. That's simply a touchdown rate that is unsustainable and is going to regress at some point.
And check this out. He was a limited practice. He has a little quad injury he's dealing with this, a little, small tissue injury. They just played on Tuesday.
Yep.
And they're going to play on Sunday. I don't know. I'm with you, Jim. The whole Jonnu Smith, I've been on him all year, man. I was on him before the season. He is great. But I don't know.
Good,
short
right?
week, little muscle injury. I don't know.
And the weeks that I was playing him earlier in the season, right, he was down in the 4,000 range, 4,000, 4,200. He's 5,200 this week. So I'd rather pay $100 more and play Hawkinson, or I'd rather drop down $200 to play Ertz. Last week, they didn't have Davis. They didn't have Humphreys. They just had a limited amount of weapons out there. All those guys coming back is just going to take touchdown looks away from Jonnu, and that's really where they still look for him. And, they were actively targeting Anthony Ferkser, which, again, won me some money in Showdown at $200 in that game, a lot more than I had expected, right? Maybe it's because Jonnu was hurt. Maybe it was the lack of options in the receiving game. But he's a guy that, is going to get talked about, and a lot of people are going to play this week that I'm just going to take the stance to full fade him. And if it hurts me, okay, that's okay. But he could also have one catch for 4 yards this week, and that wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll make mine real quick. We're on pretty much the same guys. The only one you didn't mention, which I figure is pretty self-explanatory, is Mark Andrews, if you can get there. But Andrews, Fant, Hawkinson, Ertz, Hooper. That's where I'm going. And I'm not going below Hooper. I just think below that, and even that is a little risky, but the target shares aren't there. You're literally just, if you're going to do that, you may as well pick the cheapest guy on the slate and just
So I've got one guy all the way down, and I'll wait to see if Joey says it or not.
All right, Joe.
All right. So if I'm paying up for anyone, it's going to be Fant and Hawkinson. I'm fading Gesicki. I'm fading Andrews this week. I like Ertz, especially if he's got those receivers back. This could be, honestly, one of those really dart plays with a full Philadelphia Eagles stack, Wentz, Ertz, Deshaun, and you could really run it up if they start, pummeling Baltimore a little bit. You never know. It's the NFL.
And it's just more
another guy
on Ertz. They can't.
Exactly.
They have to play a little bit more balanced, which opens things up. So
yeah.
Yep. Another guy that I really like, and I don't like that I like him, but he's been doing pretty decent for me. I just don't like how much he's priced up, as Jimmy Graham. He's 5,000, but he's always in. He's lining up on the slot. He's getting targets. He gets red zone targets. He got one touchdown actually that last week, and then he actually ended up converting on the same drive. So he's getting the red zone target, so I kind of like him. Another person I like is Evan Ingram, even though the New York Giants offense is absolutely abysmal, but so is the Washington Redskins, or the Washington Potatoes defense is fucking terrible too. So Evan Ingram could be a play this week. Another guy I'm kind of interested in is Gronk. Ever since OJ Howard went out, he's starting to get some more targets. It looks like, he's starting to get the feel back for the NFL again. So Gronk might be a guy I go with.
If
Yep.
Evans is out and Godwin is in, I might have Gronk in a lineup or two.
Yeah. So I'm interested in Gronk, down at like 4,700 there. If I'm going cheap, and this is going to sound the weirdest one ever because he does not get targets, but it is Kyle Rudolph for the Minnesota Vikings at 3,700. Now, my only reasoning, 3,700, and he's proven that he is a goal line machine. And he did it a couple times last year where he gets all of his touchdowns in one game. And this could be the game against Atlanta where he just snakes Thielen and Jefferson and steals 2 or 3 touchdowns on only 3 targets. And Rudolph is a weird one. He's a complete dart at 3,700. He might give me 2 points. He might give me 20. Who knows? But Rudolph's my guy. If I'm going really down, he's my weird cross my fingers. They get on the goal line and they got to pass it to him. Because Madison can't run on the goal line.
Jim's taking the side of that formation.
Yep, $2,500, Irv Smith. They actively try and throw him the ball. He hadn't really been involved all year. They finally got him involved against Seattle. Had 7 targets, 4 catches for 64 yards. If he does that again at $2,500, great.
Right.
I'm all in. He's a dynamic athlete, unlike Kyle Rudolph, who,
hey, he's a one-handed machine, dude.
Great. Fantastic. He's a one-handed telephone pole that just stands there in the end zone. So, he's $2,500, right? It allows you to open it up. I really like him in the game stack with like Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, and then you could play Jefferson and Irv Smith running it back, right? Lets you get a little bit weird, lets you get a little bit different, gets you off the chalk of Ridley a little bit. And again, at $2,500, it just opens up so much for you that you can kind of go elsewhere. If you are going to go down to one of these $2,500 or $3,000 guys, I'm not playing 2 of these guys in the same lineup. That would be a real lightning ride to play like Jeff Smith and Irv Smith together. That maybe that's it. Maybe I just hit on it. Play the Smith brothers and you'll be okay.
Play the right Smith guys. There's like 20 of them in the roster pool.
Hey, those are the 2 that I'm playing this week. No, $2,500. Look, I'm going to have him in a couple lineups. I'm not just going to play him by himself. I'll play him in those game stacks that I'm playing, like with Cousins, Thielen, and Smith, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
He could get you 0, right? But he could also get, 4 for 64. And if one of those turns into a touchdown, now we're talking 16 points. Now we're 8-9x value. And like, that's really looking good for your lineups at like sub 1% ownership.
I like it. All right, let's
cool.
Move on to defense, huh? Let's finish this bad boy up.
All right. I will, I guess, lead it off. I like the Patriots. I like the Steelers. I will be playing some potatoes. Again, I think the Giants just aren't very good. And if Washington can just get the same pressure with Chase Young back on Daniel Jones, like definitely see, a few sacks, possibly, a few picks there.
Sweat's back this week too.
So yeah, I love one, maybe don't love, but I like Washington. The Dolphins against the Jets for obvious reasons. I feel like a pretty easy play. And then the one team that I'm just gonna go there and whatever is I'll go all the way down to play Cincy. Phillip Rivers has more interceptions than touchdowns this year, and he is not good. So
yeah, if the Colts were smart, they would run the ball 55 times this game and just grind out the win.
yeah, like they could score 3
Not give it
touchdowns,
to Phillip.
but if Rivers throws a pick or two, it takes a few sacks. Like at 2,100, like 4 or 5 points, like 6 points.
See, Vinny, I really like that play because there's a really good chance Phillip Rivers gets benched during this game.
They committed to him earlier this week, but again, all of his.
But we've seen that happen plenty of times. Like we're committing, he's starting, and then Sunday comes and he throws 2 picks in the first quarter.
Dude, this is a guy who cannot throw the ball over 30 yards.
Like it's awful.
I do not understand for me why they did not go out and sign Jameis for half the price.
Or Cam.
Yeah, I mean, but Cam was asking for a little bit more money. He ended up getting nothing, basically, right? But they paid Phillip Rivers all his money, and I mean, Jameis Winston is going to throw as many interceptions probably as Phillip Rivers, but when you need him to throw the ball down the field, I mean, their best offensive player, they might as well just trade T.Y. Hilton to the Jets for, a first-round pick and say, hey, we want Jeff Smith back, and just put Jeff Smith out there. Because, like, T.Y.'s skill set of moving, pushing the ball down the field is completely gone with Phillip Rivers. Like you said, Vinny, he literally can't throw it 30 yards down the field.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of rolling the Bengals out there. I mean, they got steamrolled versus Baltimore last week, but outside of Kansas City, Baltimore steamrolls everyone, and they just overwhelmed them. And that was honestly, like, the Bengals couldn't do anything offensively, and they just completely – I mean, would they have, like, 2 defensive touchdowns, I think, Baltimore 2. So, I'm not too concerned about this one. Like, again, if they put up 2-3 points, like, it's not ideal. But at 2,100, it definitely does not kill you,
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, the most you can get for negative points on DraftKings is -4. Yeah. And that means they have to give up 35-plus points.
With no sacks, no interceptions.
Exactly.
Nothing.
The worst you can do, the very, very worst I think you can do for 2,100 is like 2 points probably.
Yeah.
Right? And even then, I mean, I think you're probably looking at a floor of Cincinnati of like probably 3 to 4 points. With, like you said, all it takes is one interception or Phillip Rivers doing some weird like thing when he like tries to like get his body moving and like run. And
he sounds like, he's like,
ball like hits his leg and shit like that, like flies off. I mean, it's almost time like I really thought Phillip Rivers going there could like make an impact. But now I'm like, man, he should have just retired. But I mean, good on him for getting another I think they paid him 18, 19 million for this year. So
no, Rivers is making like 27 million.
Oh my God.
Paid. That's why they're not benching him for Brissett yet. That's literally it.
So I'm just not afraid of it. So I'll have mostly.
Yeah, I'm with you, Vin.
And the red potatoes, whatever you want.
I like that. If I'm the red potatoes, I really like those Bengals Jets for sure. If I'm paying down, but my 2 favorite teams are the Steelers and the Browns. I feel like that game is just going to be really sloppy, a lot of sacks, weird interceptions, just oddness happening everywhere. So if I can fit the Steelers in, I want the Steelers going. Yeah. But if I want to go cheaper, if I need to go cheaper, I want to go Browns. Browns are getting picks. Browns are getting pass rush. Browns are pretty nasty on defense, man. They put up over 10 points over 2 times this year already out of 5 games. So, fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that call. I mean, I just look at who the Browns have played. And, they played Baltimore. The Browns defense only put up 4 points against Cincinnati.
That was a weird game. Don't you think?
But
remember that's when Burrow started just going nuts. He threw like 65 passes.
So, but to Vinny's point, if I'm going to go all the way down there, I'm just going to keep going all the way to the Bengals. I'm with Vinny on that one. I'm going to play some football team as well, or as the Potatoes. I think they should just change their name to that. I think that's a great name.
I think we call them the Washington Potatoes from now on.
That's fine with me. That's
I heard it somewhere on Twitter and it just clicked. I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah, we'll just stamp that from now on. I think the highest I'm going this week is the Steelers at 3,600. Um, I just don't think the Patriots are worth paying 4,100 for. And then the Ravens are 4,500. Like, look, that's so much to play for a defense, and a lot of people are going to play them.
And see, that's why I want to reverse that and play an Eagle stack against that Ravens team, right? I feel like a lot of people are going to pay up for that Ravens, and which means Philly's going to go low, and I feel like you're going to get the reverse on that.
I think my favorite play of the week is the Steelers. I think the Steelers are a defense that they created a lot of pressure. They're one of the league leaders in sacks. They haven't had a defensive touchdown yet, and Baker Mayfield is hurt.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some sort of like separated shoulder or something. His ribs are also bruised. Like, Baker's been playing a little bit too well so far this year. That blow up Baker, like 4 interception game is coming, and I think it's this week. So at 3,600, I think the Steelers have a ceiling of 20 to 25 points this week. So that's probably them.
Yeah, they're my favorite as well.
My highest owned team of the week. And now talking about it, like, I'm thinking maybe I should play a little bit of Connor to run it back with, but I don't know. But they're I think can certainly be the highest scoring defense of the week. And they're $900 cheaper than the Ravens, who I do not think will be in the top 5 scoring of fantasy this week on defense.
No. I think Philly turns it around this week.
Yeah, I think Philly's going to play them tough. They got a good quarterback.
I think they're going to play a good game. I mean, Philly played a good game against the Steelers last week. That proved enough for me because I think the Steelers defense is top 3 defense in the NFL, and Philly put up 29 against them and made that a game all the way to the end. So I think that's going to happen again this week.
They're also a team that, like, they're not just going to roll over. They have a high-level head coach. They have, like, an owner that's going to keep pushing them. Like, they're not one of those teams that, like, oh, well, maybe we'll just put it in the tank. Like, we don't have our best.
No, they got strong veterans that have been to a Super Bowl, made playoff runs. They get it.
Their defense I believe plays hard. Yeah,
their D line is solid, man. I believe in the Eagles this week, man. I think they're going to go below 2% in almost every category.
Yeah. I mean, I think Joey's got a point too. Like, with Dak Prescott going down, that's going to give them a little bit of a buzz. That freaking weird tie that they have actually bodes really well for them in the division because, I mean, it's certainly better than a loss, right? And then, look, Andy Dalton is not doing – I mean, look, let's just be real. It's Andy Dalton, right? Like, he's not taking the Cowboys anywhere. So I think they're going to be energized, and I think people are just going to load up on the Ravens defense this week, and I don't think it's going to pay off.
Yep, I agree.
I'm with it.
All
right, boys. That does it.
All right, guys. Follow us on Twitter. DFS Joey Levine.
At JJ McIntosh.
And Vinnie Levine 29.
For updates throughout the weekend, injury reports, me and Big Jim are going to be in Tahoe partying it up, but we'll be staying very updated on the fantasy this weekend. We won't let you down.
All right. Good luck.
11-team parlay. Here we go.
Hey.